Laura here. Warm welcome back to my crafting for the envelope. Well, the size here told me to cut 9 3/4 by 9 3/4. So what do I do with the only piece of paper I had that was big enough with craft on one side? I cut 6 3/4. Pretty sure it's either 6 1/4 or 6 3/4. Anyway, it needed to be 9. And I'm looking at it going, you've got to be kidding. How is that card going to fit in here? Then I'm going, yeah. Oh, I'm so glad I didn't do it all the way, like cut it into the little wee tiny envelope for, you know, a 2-inch card. So I had to go into my stash and I found this Lost and Found 3. It's really nice. And I also had this ombre paper that I bought, oh, I don't know, a couple of years ago at Tuesday Morning. I really like it. It has all those colors across the front, but in an ombre effect. So I thought first I'll look at this paper. It really isn't themed for the so-called Heart Day, but I do like it. And I've torn some pages out of it to do a canvas at one time. So I was kind of going, okay, let's get rid of that. Time to start de-stashing. That's my de-stash. Taking little pieces out of my 12 by 12 packs. That's pretty pathetic, isn't it? Actually, I have another video up showing you something I purchased today. I think you're really going to like it. It is another version of the Tim Holtz glass mat. Yes, if you didn't get it or you couldn't get it, I'm going to show you an alternative to that, but after I pick the paper. Now, I did choose, instead of this bright red stripe, I went with kind of like a pink eeks. I generally don't do pink and red together, but the stripes were just so light that I really didn't mind it. And that tinge that you see down below is not because it sat so long in the sun or something. It did have this yellow tinge to the corners of this stripe paper for some reason. So anyway, to fit that stamp that I made with penny black with the 2 little girls in the tree, I am doing the exact folds that it calls for, as I'm looking at it, as it cards for, as it calls for. I'm watching our grandson today, and he's being so wonderful to be nice and quiet and sitting here so that I can do the voiceover. And yeah, another overnight stay with the Nan. It's awesome for me. I think he kind of likes being spoiled as well. So I just take it, you know, with the We Are Memory Keepers envelope maker. Makes everything just so easy, doesn't it? So I'll take my Teflon bone folder and I'll zoom in here. And, you know, it's not important to have a Teflon bone folder if you don't have one. I went forever without one. But, you know, once I did get it and I saw that it didn't leave any, you know, shiny marks, I couldn't believe it. Like, it really is an awesome tool. And here I'm just going to put, you have to be careful how far you go on things like this. I don't like to put it on the bottom portion because I always go all the way up and then I tape it down on my envelope. So I learned to put it on the sides first. And I decided to keep the point on it instead of covering it up. There's our card we made yesterday. And I think the stripe just went with it for some reason. I really did. And I'm going to add a few things. I went to my stash of the Simon Says Stamp 6x6 glitter paper. And I thought, should I use a whole piece of that on the inside? And I thought, no, that's not going to happen. And then I thought, okay, what if I put a scene in a frame? So I thought if I put some of the Desert Storm paper behind it, it would look kind of nice if we stamped there. It would take away from all of the pink stripe. But then something about that shiny red on the pink diagonal stripe didn't do it for me. So I totally changed my mind. And I wanted to show you something as I use the Tim Holtz platform here. I chose a stamp set that I got years ago for $1.99. It's very cheap photopolymer, I'm sure. It's a Fiskars set. I showed it with the other, if you watch the card tutorial, you'll see it there. I don't like to say it's inexpensive. the photopolymer, you end up having to stamp it again and again, and probably because it's a new stamp and I didn't rub off, I didn't put a nail file across it, nothing to prepare it. I just went ahead because I knew the platform would, you know, allow me to stamp again and again and again if the photopolymer didn't take to the paper. And that's what's terrific about a platform. I don't know what we did without them, right? So I chose, what it had was 2 hearts in there. It had a long and a short section of these little hearts. They're open hearts and filled hearts. And it's about 1 inch, I would say, across, maybe 1.25 inches. And the other one's about 1/2 inch. And the other 1/2 inch one is for going when you get to the end of something. And you just have a little section like I do with the heart there. And I wasn't really being super careful here on how much space I put in between. You know, that's not so important. But at the top, I wanted to be a little on with the hearts. I didn't care going along this bottom portion, but I got a little fussy, I have to admit. Love taking the door out of the platform for this envelope. And here I had to add some paper because I forgot that I had that little piece. But I think whether I used it or not, I was only using about 3 of the section hearts. So this worked out perfect for me to just stamp it again, and then if I need be, I could take my Copic multiliner, any multiliner, and draw another heart in. But I don't think I even did that. I think I didn't mind that it was a little off down there. And I kept going around and around the stamp doing the same thing. And there was something on this heart, on one of the sections, that didn't take immediately to the ink until I was almost finished. So now I know that, you know, it has this little wee, around the heart, it has little lace scallops around it. And a couple of them were just giving me a little bit of problem there. But I kept working at it and stamping, and it worked. And see that ink on the side? Oh yeah, you want to grab that little piece of alcohol wipe. I showed it in my other tutorial of the card that goes with this envelope. You quickly want to take it off the platform. I'm all about trying to keep things as reasonably clean as I can. And there's nothing worse to have your platform in ink. It could throw you off when you put a sentiment on or something, I think. Baby, what do you think? There they are. There they are. I took a bunch of them out and put them out on my island because I kind of got tired of going and getting them. I figured if I'm going to use this platform enough times, I'm going to be stamping off and messing it up. So I kept them out. I just love them. You get them at the dollar store. I think you get 150 of them per $1. Like, that's pretty good. Yeah, get scrubbing there, Carol. There we go. So once I get this cleaned up, I have to come back and go around the envelope. Just a little bit more stamping. It really didn't take that much time to do this. And here's where I take out the We Are Memory Keepers metallic. And it didn't matter, it was metallic. Little ruler. It's the smallest one I had to measure somewhat to the top and bottom of the hearts. Now I raised it down just a little bit because it kept hitting on the closure because it was too far up for that stamp for some reason. Maybe it was the ruler. But anyway, I moved it down and set that the hearts on there and the big heart, and I kept going so that I had that all the way across. I love that craft envelope, don't you? So anywho, yeah, I finished the stamping, and then I'm going to put it away, and we're going to do a bit of Copic coloring before I move on to the center piece, kind of like my focal point. And then I'll show you what I do to complete it. I kind of liked it. I left the front with design. I left the back plain, except for putting some of the Desert Storm inside. And I'm going to show you how easy it is to put an insert on a pointed envelope as soon as we get to that. So here we go. I'm going to heat set it with some clear embossing powder, put my clips, my acetate piece for centering my sentiments back in the platform and set it aside because I am going to use it again. So I'm using my, hello! Oh, I just cheer up every time I see it. And then Hunter just said to me, hello! So I took my lightest red. I'm just going across there. I'm trying to see if I could read that. I think it's the R34 I use, but it's kind of far away for me. And I go over all the hearts at one time. I thought, you know, I could stop and then put the darker color on so that it's still a little moist so I could move the color. But I thought, you know what? This isn't the main focal point of the card. So it didn't matter that I just, you know, had some fun, went around there, and then I'll take my mid-tone and I'll put that on, which is the R37. And I add that little V, little dot on each of the smaller hearts. And I showed you how I use that. I cover the left with a line. I go up halfway on the right. And then I put around the circle portion right there, I'm adding a little bit more. And I think that's the R59. That's generally my combination. I do 4 reds generally. And then I'll go back with the lightest. And then to end it, I'll come in with the dark red. And I'm not sure if it's a red violet that I used here or just the plain red. But it was kind of nice. Here's the R37, kind of blending it in. I just love the look of hearts, you know, and balloons. I love doing it to try and get some dimension. And I'm still going back to the tiny hearts. Everything wants attention, right? Now, once we get finished this, I need to pick out a focal point for the middle. And I had 2 options. I was either going to die cut this heart I haven't used yet, and I really like it. I've been dying to use this die. It has a space for a sentiment on the, yeah, that wasn't going to work. No way I was putting any more sparkles. That one right there, the Hero Arts die heart. And then it has a line across there so you can put whatever sentiments. It has about 12 sentiments in that pack. I love it. So I grabbed the Nouveau Crystal Glaze. And before I put this on there, this is a beautiful frame with a bow. And that's from the same set, the Fiskars set I got at Hobby Lobby. And it was on sale for $1.99. And I needed to put something up there. I forgot that space. So I just grabbed my hand and I just took it to the edge, pressed it down, and there you go. Took care of that in no time at all. Easy peasy. I'm going to dry it a little bit. I'm not going to get too close there because I don't want it to bubble, but I do need to get my platform back out and I didn't want it to be wet. So I have to recolor the hearts on the little set there, and you can tell I did not measure. I just wanted to be kind of kitty wonkus in a sense. It's so pretty to me like that. And then I'm just checking it with my hand. I don't know why, because if it wasn't dry, I would have a hand mark in there. I do it all the time. You know what I do? I lick my finger and then I put it on. I kind of slide it just in case it is a little damp, that my finger doesn't stay in it. I know that's gross. It's like licking your kids' faces to get the chocolate chips off of it so nobody could tell you gave them sweets before dinner, you know? Here we go back into the platform, and I didn't want to center this. I wanted to use the rule of thirds and put it over to the left on the first third of the card, just so the eye kind of catches it. I wanted to tilt it, excuse me, to the right, not to the left, to the right. And yeah, so that's why a platform's so nice. Even if you do buy the photopolymer stamps that aren't expensive, you can put this platform, Misty, whatever it is you use, whatever stamping, you know, tool, assistant, and do it 100 times and get a perfect stamp at the end. Then I quickly grab my clear embossing powder, and I didn't put anything on the center because I thought I would brush letter the name of who I decided to give this to on the inside. I didn't know while I was doing this what I was going to do with this card. So I decided to make some squiggly lines like this to the 2 hearts. Then I just made some curved lines, kind of like rope lines, That's what was in my mind, but I didn't want it to be even. I'm going across here and I thought I want to fatten it up on one side and make it thinner on the other, just to be the same kind of Kitty Wonkus effect. I wasn't striving for perfection here. As you can see, it just looks like an old rope I just tied on it. I really like that look. Now I'm going to, after I clear emboss it and I wipe everything up because I did get a bit of powder there, I'm going to have to grab another alcohol wipe, as you can see right there. Oh yeah, I cleaned it up. Now I'll go around all the hearts here because that's the theme. And don't you love those other hearts? With the little bit of lace on the outside of the larger hearts. I just find this set beautiful, and it was $2. You can't go wrong there on stamp sets. Before I had the stamp positioner, I questioned buying inexpensive photopolymer stamps because you'd never get, you couldn't stamp over it twice, unless you use your Stamp-A-Majig all the time. But this positioner really made it nice for us. There's the RV89. Yeah, the red violet. I like that. It's nice and dark. And I'm going to make some lines like the rope, a little curved but thick in the corners, going down the actual frame. I didn't want it to look like it was the lace. I wanted to follow through with the rope effect. And it's just pretty. There's no rhyme and reason. Just a lot of hearts, a lot of love going on there, isn't there? And add whatever color you want. Red, to me, is always so nice. And look at those. Doesn't it look like they're bubbled up? I don't know. I just love the look of those hearts. And the whole set, you should see how many stamps are in this stamp set. I'm going to try and find it for you. I do have to link my products still over on my blog. I haven't forgotten. I'm just, I got my grandson early this morning and we've been kind of hanging out. And I just said, hey, Nan will give you some cookies if you'll sit nice and quiet while I do my voiceover. So he's munching on some chocolate chip cookies. And of course, the Nouveau Clear, crystal clear glaze. I'm putting on the rope section, and then I'll put it on the little hearts, I think. Sorry, it's so close. It went out of focus for a minute. And then I just put this little piece before I cut down that Desert Storm, because you only get 25 to a pack. I thought I'm going to stare at this for a little bit before I make a decision to put the whole back in. I liked it. You know what it reminded me of? Back in the day, the candy stripers when we went into the hospital. I don't know if they have them anymore, but we had the people that wanted to become nurses would put on the candy stripe nurse's outfit, and they would assist the people in the hospital beds. And I just thought it was so nice. They would refresh their water and bring them any treats and stuff. I don't even know if I haven't seen a candy striper in years. So after bringing the Desert Storm up to the envelope, I'm only left a slight showing of the white cardstock on the inside of the stripe. I took a pencil, did all the curves, went down about 3 inches for the inside, just took a cutting knife. I love having my cutting mat underneath my workstation here, so I can just lift up my mat and then the cutting mat is there. And I love these 3 different style cutters. They're just awesome. I need a little bit more off here, so I'm going to kind of line it up. I'm going to take my cutting knife, cut it down, and then to slide it into the envelope, I put some 1/4 inch double-sided tape just down far enough. I don't seat it inside. I put it only on the envelope side that I can see there. See how much? Not a lot right there. So I need to take some double-sided tape, and after I take it all off with the my cutting razor there, you have to be careful. What I do is I slide it up and then I fold it down so that my fingers aren't going near it. See how I take it and I'm going so fast it's hard to see, but I go under it and then I fold it back. Yeah. I know it looks like I didn't do that, but I do. I slide it under and then give it a little fold, and then I take it off. But anyway, Thank you so much for joining me on my card. I'm glad to get an envelope off. Hunter's been very good for me as always. He's so much fun when he stays over. And I'm just going to remove this. Oh, I do add liquid glue in between the spaces, so it gives me some sliding room. I don't get stuck when I'm sliding it down. And you know what? I left it plain. I thought it was just pretty, just like this. The pink stripe and the Desert Storm to me, after I put a nice fold in here, was just perfect. I just thought it was so sweet that went with the card. So enjoy the pictures. Thank you, as always, for joining me on my tutorials, for subscribing. Thank you. And for your kind comments and liking my tutorials. Means a lot to me. Have yourself a blessed week, and I look forward to seeing you on the next tutorial.